So the last time we covered the Bhagavad-Gita, chapter 13, 8 to 12, the 8 to the 12th verse. And when we covered this, I explained to you the common misconception that one has to work hard at acquiring these qualities before one can progress. I explained that it's already been covered in the 4th chapter of the Bhagavad-Gita that one approaches a spiritual teacher who teaches you how to perform yajna, and through the performance of yajna, one reaches that stage where these qualities spontaneously emerge from within you. So don't be disheartened when you see this list of qualities. These qualities will automatically, naturally, effortlessly become manifest in you as you engage in performing yajna under the direction of a spiritual teacher. Of course, in the Bhagavad Gita, and one who is teaching the Bhagavad Gita, he teaches you what Krishna says, not to perform a yajna, but to perform everything as yajna. Yat karoshi yadashnasi yat juhosi dadasi yat tapasyasi kaunteya tad kurushvamadarpanam. Whatever you do, whatever you eat, whatever you offer, whatever you give away, whatever austerities you perform, everything do it for me. Krishna also says that yagna nam japo yagnosmi. So in the discretionary time that you have when you are not working, because working is a superior form of yajna, so whenever you are not working, you must keep some time aside for chanting Krishna's names, which Krishna says he is the chanting of the holy names amongst all yajnas. And then these qualities become manifest within you. When these qualities become manifest within you, you now qualify to know the universal ground of existence, what the universe is composed of. You understand what is divinity, which is all pervading, which is known as Brahman. While Brahman is described extensively in the Upanishads, in the Vedas, etc., I am going to tell you how Krishna's description here from 13 to 18 not only condenses all of that within these few verses, but it also brings it to a devotional conclusion. And for this, I would like to go to the last verse of the 14th chapter of the Bhagavad-Gita. The last verse of the 14th chapter of the Bhagavad-Gita is 14.27. So instead of beginning in 13.13, I prefer to take you as a beginning to the 14.27. In 14.27, Krishna explains to Arjuna, Brahmano hi pratishta aham amritasya avyayasya cha shashvatasya cha dharmasya sukhasya aikantikasya cha. Krishna explains to Arjuna that I am the rest, I am the support, I am the source of the impersonal Brahman, which is the immortal, imperishable, eternal, and constitutional position of ultimate peace. So here, Krishna begins, I am beginning 13.13 by preceding it with this verse, 14.27. Because 14.27 says that yes, I am the source, the rest, the support, the origin of Brahman. Brahman indeed is Krishna's effulgence. Krishna lies beyond Brahman. This will help you to understand the 13th chapter, 13.13 to 13.18 more effectively. Because Krishna addresses Brahman here as Mat Param Brahman. Mat Param means Brahman is subordinate to me. This is the crux of the matter. Because those who are following Advaita philosophy, those who are following the philosophy of Adi Shankaracharya, will be told by their teachers that Mat Param Brahma means Brahman is superior to Krishna. But here in 14.27, that is directly contradicted. Because after all, the Bhagavad-Gita is a Vaishnava text. It is not an Advaitic text. People who follow Advaita twist the meanings of the verses in the Bhagavad-Gita because few people understand Sanskrit and few people are able to cross-reference to understand what really Bhagavad-Gita is about. But 14.27 for understanding precedes 13.13, where Krishna says, I am the source of Brahman, I am the rest of Brahman, I am the support of Brahman. Brahman occupies a very special place for people who are following Advaita philosophy. For them, realizing Brahman is the summum bonum of spiritual life. For those who follow Advaita philosophy, the realization of Brahman is the conclusion of spiritual life. But in the Bhagavad Gita, Krishna points out that realization of Brahman is not the conclusion of spiritual life, it is indeed the beginning of spiritual life. So then what is spiritual life? Spiritual life is being situated on the platform of Brahman and engaging in parabhakti. That is true spiritual life. In the Bhagavad Gita, Krishna says very clearly, Brahma bhuta prasannatma na sochati na kankshati samah sarveshu bhuteshu mad bhaktim labate param. Krishna explains that for one who realizes Brahman, there is no more desiring, no more regretting, no more hankering, no more lamenting. And such a person is given the gift of parabhakti. Mad bhaktim labate param. You get parabhakti on realizing Brahman. And that is when spiritual life begins. Because through parabhakti, one reaches Krishna. Bhaktyatva ananya shakya aham evam vido Arjuna. It is only through devotion that you shall know me as I am. Through parabhakti, you shall know me as I am. Having understood these differences between Brahman in Advaita philosophy and Brahman in Vaishnava philosophy, because Bhagavad Gita is a Vaishnava book, but because of its popularity, everybody wants to comment on it and, try to co-opt it by saying it is Advaita philosophy, it is this philosophy, it is that philosophy. But the Bhagavad-Gita indeed is a synthesis of philosophies. It is indeed a syncretic fusion of the six darshanas of the Vedas. And in this chapter, you will see how this is taking place. Because earlier in the 13th chapter, Krishna has spoken of Purush and Prakriti. And now you begin to understand that beyond Purush and Prakriti, which are part of Sankhya philosophy, Purush and Prakriti are not part of Vedanta, no matter what people may try to convince you. Purush and Prakriti predate all these interpretations. They belong to Sankhya. And beyond Purush and Prakriti lies Brahman. So indeed, this is a fusion, a syncretic fusion. That Krishna has taken the Purush and Prakriti of Sankhya and subordinated it to the all-pervading Brahman, which is a product of Vedanta. There are 220 Upanishads. And of these 220 Upanishads, Shankara picked out only a few to call them the principal Upanishads, because they can be twisted into or interpreted into Advait philosophy. But there are Vaishnav Upanishads, there are Tantric Upanishads, there are various types of Upanishads that are there, which support every philosophy that exists. But talking about the philosophies of Vedanta, the Upanishads of Vedanta, we come to what is Brahman. And in understanding what is Brahman, it is described right from the Vedas onwards. We have in the Vedas, the Rig Veda has the Purusha Sukta. And the Purusha Sukta talks about thousands of heads and thousands of hands. And this is none other than Brahman in its earliest description. And then we come to the other Upanishads. The Brihadaranyaka Upanishad says, Aham Brahmasmi. And in Yajnavalkya's dialogues, they explain this I am Brahman from different angles, explaining how gods and sages and men experience different aspects of one God, one Brahman. And the Upanishads stresses inner identity of the Atman with Brahman. The Chandogya Upanishad says, Tattvamasi, that is what thou art. The Taittiriya Upanishad goes on to say that Brahman is the truth, the knowledge, the infinite. It is pure existence, consciousness, knowledge, jnana. It is infinitude, ananta. It speaks of Brahman as a conscious reality, not a neutral substrate. And the Taittiriya Upanishad points to the secret of Brahman hidden in the cave of the heart. In fact, it says that Brahman cannot be spoken of in words. It is ineffable. And it is ineffable because even words turn away from it. The Mundaka Upanishad says it's not that only you are Brahman. The Mundaka Upanishad says, Sarva Khalu Idam Brahma. The manifest universe and its substratum are not two. The world's reality is rooted in Brahman. The Isha Upanishad, also known as Ishavasya Upanishad, says, Ishavashyam idam sarvam, yat kintya jagatyam jagat. It says all of this is pervaded by the Lord. So there is a Vedic kernel which says, Ekam Sat Vipra Bahuda Vadanti. The reality is one, the wise call it by many names. In the Vaishnava literature, in the Bhagavad Puran, it is declared, Vadanti tat tattva vidas tattvam yajnanam advayam brahmeti paramatmeti bhagwaniti shabdyate. That there is one God, but he manifests as the all-pervading Brahman. He manifests as the Paramatma within your heart, and he manifests as Bhagavan. Bhagavan is the source. Brahman is his effulgence, which is all-pervading. And Paramatma is the localized reflection of the Lord within your heart. So here we come to 13.13, where Krishna says, Gneyam yattat pravakshami yaj gnatva amritam ashnute anadi mat param brahma na sattan nasad uchyate. This is so strange. How can you describe something that is indescribable? How do you put in words something that is beyond words, which is ineffable? How can you indeed even imagine something which is known as inconceivable? So there are two ways that one does it. And for this, I must borrow two words from the Orthodox Eastern Church of Christianity. And the two words are apophatic and cataphatic. Apophatic means you describe the indescribable by saying what it is not. Cataphatic means you describe the indescribable by describing its impact, its effects, what it is to people within this world. So in 13.13, Krishna says that Gneyam yattat pravakshami yaj gnatva amritam ashnute. One who realizes this Brahman, amritam ashnute, he tastes immortality. And this immortality is experienced when one knows this Brahman, which is beyond Sat and Asat, which is beyond the manifest matter and beyond the unmanifest matter as well. So Krishna then goes on in 13.14 to the original Purusha Sukta by reflecting the Purusha Sukta and of the Rigved. He says, Sarvatra Pani Padam Tat Sarvato Akshi Shiromukham Sarvatah Shruti Maloke Sarvam Avritya Tishtati. Everywhere are his hands and feet, his eyes, his heads, his faces. His ears too are all in all places, for he pervades everything within the universe. Just like in the Rigved, the Purusha Sukta, he says that he has thousands of heads and thousands of hands, and you can see that reflected here, where Krishna explains, Sarvata Pani Padam Tat Sarvato Akshi Kshiromukham. Everywhere are his hands and legs, everywhere are his heads and faces, everywhere are his ears. Indeed, he is everything everywhere. And it is by the offering your everyday God given duties in a spirit of sacrifice to the all pervading Lord that one attains perfection. In the Bhagavad-Geeta, Krishna says, Yataha pravrittir bhutanam yena sarvam idam tatam swakarmana abhyarchaya siddhim vindati manavaha. So this self-same, all-pervading aspect of God, when you worship it by offering your God-given duties as a sacrifice to it, you attain perfection. Now comes the apophatic and cataphatic, the paradoxical portrayals. Sarva indriya guna bhasham, sarva indriya vivarjitam. He perceives all sense objects, yet he is without senses. Asaktam sarva bhrichaiva nirgunam gunabhoktricha. So although he is without any, he is unattached to anything, and despite being unattached to everything, he still sustains everything. He perceives all the senses, but he is without senses. He is unattached to everything, yet he sustains and maintains everything. He is beyond the gunas. He is beyond sattva, rajas, and tamas. He is nirgunam. But although he is nirgunam, without the senses, without the modes of material nature, these gunas, he is the enjoyer. So, asaktam sarva bhrichaiva nirgunam gunabhoktricha. Bahirantascha bhutanam acharam charam evacha. Sukshmatvat tad avigneyam durastab cha antike cha yattat. Again, you see the paradoxes, apophatic and cataphatic. He exists outside everybody and he is yet inside everybody. Those that move and those that do not move. He is so subtle, he is incomprehensible. He is a chintya, you can't even imagine him. He appears to be very far, but he is also very near. Avibhaktam cha bhuteshu vibhaktam iva cha sthitam. Bhuta bhartri cha tajgneyam grasishnu prabhavishnu cha. Amazing. He is indivisible, he is avibhaktam, he cannot be divided. Yet he appears divided amongst all living entities. He is the sustainer, he is the annihilator, and he is the creator of all beings. So besides using paradox, now he's coming to the cataphatic language. That the Lord is sustainer, he is annihilator, and he is the creator of all living beings. And in 13.18, Krishna says, Jyotisham api tad jyotish tamasa param uchyate jnanam gneyam gnanagamyam hridhi sarvasya vishtitam. He is the source of all light. In all luminaries, in the sun, in the moon, in the stars, in your electric light, He is the light in all of them. He is entirely beyond darkness and ignorance. He is knowledge. He is the object of knowledge. And He is the goal of knowledge. All of them. He is knowledge. He is the object of knowledge, that which is to be known. He is knowledge by which you know things. He is the object of knowledge. And He is the goal of knowledge. And He dwells within the hearts of all living beings. Indeed, He lives within the hearts of all living beings. Sarvasya chaham hridi sanvishto mata smritir jnanam apahanam cha. Vedaisya sarver aham eva vedyo vedanta krid vedavid eva chaham. He says, I am seated in everyone's heart. From me comes knowledge, from me comes remembrance, and from me comes forgetfulness. I have created the Vedas, from me Vedas have come. I know the Vedas, and I am to be known through the Vedas. So, starting with the all-pervading aspect, Krishna now refines that all-pervading aspect, places it subordinate to Krishna by saying that he is the rest, the support, the origin, the source of Brahman. And he also goes on to say that the same all-pervading Brahman is indeed manifested within your heart in the form of Paramatma. And iti kshetram tatha jnanam gneyam choktam samasatah mad bhakta etad vignaya mad bhava yopapadyate. I have thus revealed to you the nature of the field, the meaning of knowledge, the behavior of knowledge, and the object of knowledge. Only my devotees can understand this in reality, and by doing so, they attain my divine nature. So, with this, I will conclude today's session on 13 to 19 of the Bhagavad-Geeta, where Krishna speaks about the all-pervading aspect of God, which is known as Brahman, which is nothing but the effulgence of Lord Krishna, Bhagavan, and which is manifest within your heart as the Paramatma. So if there are any queries, questions, comments, please speak up.
Hari Om, sir. Sir, one question that I want to ask is that you spoke about the all-pervading Brahman, and you also in every session talk about, a man should do his spiritual duties, his domestic duties, his work duties. So within all that, how do we start to realize the presence of Brahman around us? Are there any specific things one should do to to realize the presence of Brahman towards us? You also mentioned that the realization of Brahman is the beginning of spiritual life. So where does one really start?
Before one enters into spiritual life, one behaves as if one is already into spiritual life. So one engages in spiritual discipline, and spiritual discipline then takes you into spiritual life. What is spiritual discipline? Spiritual discipline is understanding first and foremost that there is only one thing between you and God. And what is that which is between you and God? the illusion of a permanent, non-changing sense of self. So this aham, mam, mameti, this sense which is called the ego self, this identification with what we know as the autobiographical self. I don't say that we can get rid of the marginal self, or the marginal self is knowing that you're separate. And without that, you can't avoid bumping into people on the road because you will say, oh, we are all one, let's bump into each other. No, that marginal self remains, but the autobiographical self, you no longer identify with. You understand that it's an illusion, it's always changing. And your job is to not overuse it, because while it has been given to you for your protection, we live in the safest times in our life, and we should simply do our duty by remembering God and using this remembrance of God to forget self. So everything we do, whatever you do, whatever you eat, whatever you offer, whatever you give away, whatever charities, whatever austerities you perform, you do it for Krishna. Therefore, when you constantly weaken, attenuate, and transcend the sense of ego self, you come to the realization of knowledge. That knowledge is yaj jnatva na punarmoham evam yasyasi pandava sarva bhutani asheshani dakshasya atmano athomai. When you have learnt the truth, you realize that all beings are but part of Krishna, they're in him and they're his. And when you realize this, you manifest 8 to 12, 13.8 to 13.12. These qualities spontaneously manifest within you. And as these qualities spontaneously manifest within you, as you nurture them, you cultivate them, you develop them by constantly remembering God and forgetting self, you realize Brahman. And once you have realized Brahman, Mad Bhaktim Labate Param, then Krishna gives you Para Bhakti, which is when your real spiritual life begins. I hope this is clear.
Yes, sir. Thank you so much, sir, for an enlightening session. And we look forward to the next week. And Hari Om.
Hari Om, Jai
Jai
Shri
Shri Krishna.
Krishna, Hare Krishna.
Hare Krishna.